While exploring the Land of Shadow, we encounter so many new enemies and factions that are unique to this place. There are the Horn-Sent Warriors, the Inquisitors, the Divine Birds, and the Curseblades, to name a few. One of the most interesting factions I've come across in my research of this land and its inhabitants has to be the Swordhands of Night. We can only encounter 2 of them during our journey, and their connection to Count Ymir helps to flesh out their individual stories and how they found themselves donning their dark armor to work in service of their guiding starlight. Though Jolan, the more prominent of the 2, speaks with us on multiple occasions, she never lets on the truth behind her origins. Thankfully, that is something we can come to unpack if we're paying attention. Today, join us in unraveling the mysterious Jolan and Anna, Swordhands of Night, who fought to serve their star. That is until Anna had second thoughts, and Jolan had nothing left to fight for. Welcome to Elden Lore, our weekly lore series where we talk about the people, places, and factions of the Lands Between and the Land of Shadows. Whether you're a long-term member or this is your first time finding the channel, thanks for stopping by. We love exploring the stories hidden throughout the Lands Between and bringing them to our audience. We have a Discord set up so you can share your thoughts and feelings on any FromSoft game, and our community can give you some input. Whether you subscribe or not, no pressure. We're just glad to have you along for the ride for this video. With that said, let's peer into the blackest night in order to find the stories of Jolan and Anna. We first meet the Swordhand of Night, Jolan, after reaching Manus Metter. If we speak to her after introducing ourselves to Count Ymir, she's cold with us, but does offer a word of advice.
No interest in small talk. My only concerns are the concerns of Count Ymir, and you are not among them. Only, there is one thing I will say. Count Ymir's kindness is a gift. Should you cross him, you will sorely regret it. Begone. There is nothing more to say.
So Jolan is Ymir's right hand, and has little interest in associating with anyone outside of her master's gaze. We can ask him about her directly afterward, and he'll say,
"You met Jolan? Well, I hope that she behaved at least. The poor girl has overcome grave misfortune. Her tongue can be sharp at the best of times, but don't think that makes her a bad person. It's no surprise her little sister, too, has a heart of gold."
Once we sound the first bell and prove ourselves worthy of Ymir's attention, Jolan will start to come around on working with us.
Did Count Ymir reward you with that? Then I see you have gained his trust, and therefore mine. I am Jolan. The night is yours now to wield. Don't get the wrong idea. We are neither friends nor confidants. I am merely honoring Count Ymir's wishes.
Jolan is still keeping us at arm's length, but the distance between us has shortened. In following this questline, we find our way underneath Manus Metter, and in the distance, we can see one of these bells we've been tracking down for Ymir. As we make our way toward it, we're attacked by an invader, a Swordhand of Night known as Anna, wearing the exact same armor as Jolan. Unlike the sword we see carried by our callous companion, this swordhand wields the Claws of Night, which we receive upon defeating her. These weapons tell us they are claws of a bottomless black from which no light can escape. Wielded by Anna, Swordhand of Night, engraved with the smith script, enabling strong attacks to launch all 3 claws at a target. The blades are only semi-corporeal and cannot be fully guarded against. Interestingly, these semi-corporeal blades speak to the idea that they are literally wielding night as a weapon. Once we return from our trek underground, we can tell Jolan about the Swordhand of Night we encountered, and she seems surprised.
Stop. What did you just say? Wait, no. Say nothing. I have one star alone, and only his words will do. I will say this much. I am in your debt, but I will hear no more. I have one star alone, and only his words will do. Be on your way. I will hear no more about this.
It seems as if Jolan is planning on asking Ymir about this incident directly. But unfortunately, we never find out whether or not she did, and what his response would have been. Jolan will not speak on the matter any further, and she won't truly interact with us again until we sound the second bell Ymir has sent us to find. Once we do, she seems to appreciate that we are on Count Ymir's side, and begins to think of us as a compatriot.
I've no interest in companionship, but I must admit, Count Ymir did seem very pleased. Perhaps an exception is in order. Ymir is a shining star, in our eyes, the only star upon the black canvas of the night. Our meeting with the Count taught us of the star-draped sky. We know that we cannot reach out to touch it, but we can peer up at its brilliance and heed its guidance. We will never again lose our way in the night. I have spoken far too freely. Pay me no mind. Let us focus on our shared purpose, our service to Count Ymir. Now, be on your way.
While Jolan comes across as very cool and level-headed, her dedication to Ymir seems almost fanatical. And if we investigate the Bonnie jail, we can find the armor of the Swordhands of Night, which may give us a clue on why this is. Bottomless armor, cool to the touch. Flowing lines in the seeming shape of a fingerprint adorn the surface. Imprisons the wearer in utterly lightless dark. Bestowed upon those born deep underground, ordaining them as Swordhands of Night. This armor is found on top of a guillotine, implying that perhaps there was once another Swordhand who wasn't exactly serving the purpose of their master, and paid for it with their life. While the finger markings on the armor are reminiscent of the symbol of the Glomide Queen, I think there's a more simple explanation. The Swordhands were all meant to serve Ymir, the would-be Mother of Fingers. I'll dive into this idea a bit more later. It's once we've made our way to the section of the map containing the second bell that we have the opportunity to explore around the shaman village. And if we're thorough, we can find a path of cliffs leading down to a previously inaccessible area of Robot's Rise. Once we reach this landing, we can walk inside to find an alarming sight. A Swordhand of Night, turned to a doll, limp on the ground as if we just found Celavis's collection. This doll is Anna, Jolan's sister, who Ymir claimed had a heart of gold. It seems as though the version of Anna we faced below the church was actually a doll, and someone has gone to the trouble of hiding their handiwork in a place inaccessible to most. Given what we've experienced so far, the most likely candidate for this would be Ymir. It seems this is the secret he is keeping from Jolan, and I wonder if she'd continue to see him as her guiding star if she knew the truth. After we defeat Metter, the Mother of Fingers, we return to the church and make our way to Ymir's seat, but it seems to be empty. Once we get close enough, we're invaded by Jolan, who claims we've betrayed her master.
What have you done? You've wounded Count Ymir most irreparably, such that he wishes for your death, and I must attend to the Count's concerns.
This is incredibly confusing, because up to this point, we've been following Ymir's directions. And how could he become the new Mother of Fingers if we didn't dispatch the old one? I believe that we've played out Ymir's plan to the letter, and that he's lied to Jolan so that she wouldn't question her orders to do away with us. In Ymir's eyes, if we can defeat Metter, then we're a threat to him as well. This is why when we defeat Jolan, he attacks us himself, desperately trying to put an end to his patsy. If you believe we didn't truly kill Metter, and that she simply escaped into the microcosm, it's also possible that Ymir is upset with us because we didn't finish the job. Unfortunately for Jolan, she was simply a weapon to Ymir, and her blind faith in him meant she would believe anything he told her. We're able to have one last conversation with Jolan after Ymir is dead. She can be found in her usual spot against the pillar in the church, but now she lies on the ground, barely holding on to her life after her battle with us.
Count Ymir, the stars, the sky, I see them not.
This is one of the occasions in Shadow of the Erdtree where we can choose between two different endings for an NPC. The Iris of Occultation can be placed on another to deny them light in all its forms, which means we'd be denying Yolan's final wish, and forcing her to see nothing but darkness in her dying moments. If we do this, she says,
No light. Anywhere at all. This is the night I know. Our night.
I assume when she says our night, she means the night she and her sister were born into, before they were approached by their guiding star. Doing this grants us the weapon, the Sword of Night. Sword of an all-consuming, bottomless black that devours even the light that shines upon it. Wielded by Jolan, Swordhand of Night. The blade of the sword is only semi-corporeal, and thus cannot be guarded against completely. Much like the claws of her sister, this weapon is as black as night, completely devoid of light, a weapon fit for a Swordhand of Night. However, we can also choose to give Jolan the Iris of Grace. Placing it on her eye, we grant her the light of grace as a fleeting blessing. While this item would typically be used by an Erdtree priest to quell the fears of the flock for a short time, these are Yolan's final moments. So in this case, we are kindly fulfilling her dying wish.
Oh, it blinds, as if our night simply never was.
In giving her this iris, we're granted Yolan's ashes. Perhaps this means she's accepted the truth of Ymir's cruel manipulations and embraced light, deciding to walk alongside us. Yolan's ashes are described as the spirit of a sword hand, granted light by the Iris of Grace, wields a sword of bottomless black that penetrates the enemy's guard. Though it was not by the shining star that she had longed for, thus was her night illuminated. But this was an at times blinding light, and threatened to expunge the night entirely. This description reinforces the idea that the light she saw was not the one she wanted, but it was enough to make her reconsider darkness altogether. The most interesting thing about these ashes is that they can be manipulated if we make our way back to the doll of Anna. By having Jolan with you, the puppet of Anna can actually inhabit her ashes, giving you the ability to summon them both together. Spirits of two Swordhands of Night, one of them being possessed by Count Ymir's doll, Anna. Together, Jolan's sword and Anna's claws are as bottomless black, and penetrate the enemy's guard. Jolan and Anna were born in a cold, dark jail, where they were raised, deprived of light, to be Swordhands of Night. Thus were they cultivated to become the most terrifying masters of their blades, though the burden of the deed left their hearts frail and pliant. These ashes confirm the doll belonged to Ymir, and I think the mention of their hearts being frail and pliant alludes to what may have happened to Anna. It's my belief that Jolan, Anna, and possibly a third child were raised in the Bonnie jail, under the order of Count Ymir, to become Swordhands of Night that would follow his direction on the day he would rescue them from the jail and become their guiding star. Clearly something went wrong with one of these sword hands, as we can take their armor off the guillotine where they most likely met their end, and we even find a shield of night not far from the armor. Then, sometime after Ymir took in both herself and her sister, Anna discovered the truth of their upbringing, possibly turning her blades against Ymir, forcing him to turn her into a doll so that she could comply with his orders. This left only Jolan, who still believed in her guiding star, allowing her heart to be manipulated by the very man who was responsible for the deaths of the other Swordhands. At the very least, Jolan and Anna can be reunited as warriors within our spirit ashes, but only if we choose to free Jolan from the lies Ymir used to manipulate her, by showing her a light beyond the one star she was allowed to gaze upon. The Swordhands of Night are like many others who choose to take up a blade in Elden Ring. Tragic figures, manipulated by others into fighting for a lord, or in this case a mother, that never had their best interest at heart. Anna, who may have discovered the truth of Ymir's influence on her life, was forced to follow orders in the most sadistic way possible, being turned into a puppet with no will of her own. And Jolan was so deeply indoctrinated that this wasn't even necessary. She listened to anything Count Ymir told her, believing so thoroughly that he was the only light within the darkness, the only star she could follow. As with so many others, we can at least bring a modicum of peace to Jolan by showing her there's a light among the darkness, and reuniting her with her sister, even if it's only a spirit ash meant to fight at our side. Perhaps one day, when the battle is won, and a future's been chosen for the lands between, we can lay them to rest together, and there will never be another child indoctrinated into becoming a Swordhand of Night. Thank you for joining us for this exploration of Jolan and Anna, the Swordhands of Night. What did you think of our theories on how Anna became Ymir's puppet? Do you believe there were originally 3 Swordhands, and we can take the armor of one who failed to take it for themselves? Was Jolan lied to by Ymir so that she would fight us, or did we truly anger him by defeating Metter? Let us know your thoughts and theories in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and set notifications to all, so you never miss out on any of our lore dives. We look forward to seeing you again for more Elden Lore.